And uh, creative in TNA was pretty much, I mean, a cluster fuck, really. Because I've called TNA many times as the gang that couldn't shoot straight. I mean, and I hate committees because creative, you have to kind of be a committee because there's so much to do. But it was probably the easiest creative I've ever worked on because we only had three people on it. It was me, and it was Vince, and it was Jeff Jarrett. So, but we used to have some battles, and a lot of people knock Vince for his, I mean, the way he booked, and I didn't much like the way he booked either because I thought he actually put too much in it, and he didn't need to. He actually threw too much up front that did give you a lot of room for later on in say if you wanted to go 3 weeks, he'd throw all the stuff in the first, say you want to go a month or 4 weeks, he'd throw all the stuff in the first 2 weeks. So now the third and fourth week, now you're looking for something you haven't done. So, but Vince, hardworking guy. I mean, he'll work from sun up to sundown, and he'll work. And he always did one of my favorite sayings: "The worst idea ever is the one that's not pitched." And he'd pitch them, and I'd pitch them, and sometimes mine would get through, and sometimes his would get through. And but I think Jeff was the head of creative when I was there, so it basically boiled down to who lobbied Jeff more, and see which way he would kind of go with, not rule on, but go with. But it was some crazy stuff. And one time Terry Taylor, he ended up on creative for about 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how. He just showed up one day, and Jeff said, "Oh, Terry's just going to sit in with us, okay." And then Jeremy Borash, he ended up on creative a couple of times. I don't know why, but he was in there. And he's actually fairly creative, but he didn't add a lot. He just sat in there and listened to us. And then sometimes Dixie would come. Now Dixie, she was the her family was the one with the money. And of course you had to listen to her. She didn't know what she was talking about. She had to listen to her. And she had no ideas. And even when I came up with the idea about the girls, she never liked the girls. She never liked the knockouts. And she never actually came out and said, "I don't like the knockouts," but you could tell her tone and her demeanor when the girls, an idea about the girls came up. She didn't want them there, except she couldn't deny that the girls, the females, was what keeping TNA in business at the time. And I may have told you this, that when Kong and Gail Kim would go out and have a match, that rating would go to a 3-4, a 3-3. And that's when Sting and Kurt Angle was doing a 2-2. And, you know, their rating would go a whole, I don't know, a couple 100,000 more viewers than what Sting and Angle could do. And at a fraction, really, at a fraction of the cost. So, but anyway, I enjoyed working there for a while, but when I left, after I left, I calmed down. You know, because you don't have all of a sudden this urge to come up with something like mind bending, mind breaking, or let's do something nobody else has done. So, but and what was that question you had, John?
I was just kind of
About who
curious.
was in charge?
Yeah, like so, who really is in charge of creative? So Jeff Jarrett is technically the one that's basically saying, okay, this is what we're going to go with.
Well, he was in charge at one point, and then Vince was in charge at one point, and then I guess Dixie was in charge for a week, I think, Hell, I even got to thinking I was in charge at one point myself. So, but it was a creative endeavor. You know, if we'd all had guns, we'd all be shooting each other. We couldn't hit the target
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have a leader in creative has to say, guys, this is where we want to go right here. So we can attack it from this side or that side or upside down. What's the best way to get there? And we all had, because I have my philosophy and Vince had his, and Jeff, I think he just wanted us to come up with stuff. And he had some decent ideas every now and then. But it was mostly me and Vince coming up with the stuff. And as for the girls, the knockouts, the first, what year did they come along? 204, 205, 206, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, they weren't there from the beginning. But everybody left them alone. Because they come in one day and they said, hey, I got a great idea for the girls. And I said, I don't hear any friggin' ideas about the girls. As I remember correctly, you didn't want to bring the girls in. So don't add anything to the girls now that I got them up and kind of over a little bit.